All right, y'all. So, a GOP-controlled House committee calls on federal agencies to study state marijuana regulatory frameworks and reconsider federal hiring guidelines related to cannabis use. Will it be the Republicans that get America's fractured state-driven cannabis industry across the finish line, finally making the federal guidance so desperately needed a reality? Or will they just end up doing what they do best, dropping the ball on the 1 yard line and blaming their own miscues on the Democrats? Let's dive in. Marijuana Moments' Kyle Yeager reported yesterday that the House Appropriations Committee inserted two marijuana-related sections into a report attached to the 2025 Financial Services and General Government Spending Bill. The underlying funding legislation was released last week by the FSGG subcommittee, and also omits a long-standing rider blocking Washington, D.C. from legalizing cannabis sales and includes limited marijuana banking protections. The report posted yesterday ahead of today's full committee vote says one section directs the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Trade Bureau to examine the adequacy of state cannabis regulatory frameworks, including enforcement and oversight policies. The TTB would also need to work with other agencies to develop recommendations on improving state-federal data sharing, with a mandate to brief lawmakers on its overall findings within 1 year of enactment. Sounds reasonable. According to Yeager, the provision could help inform a separate standalone bill that Representative Dave Joyce, Republican out of Ohio, the House Appropriations FSGG Subcommittee Chairman, is sponsoring. That measures what we've all come to know as the PREPARE Act, and it would direct the Attorney General to create a commission responsible for making regulatory recommendations for cannabis that models what's currently in place for alcohol. The House previously passed the appropriations package for the current fiscal year that included report language that would have similarly mandated that the Justice Department study state marijuana regulatory frameworks, but it was not included in the final package enacted into law. Joyce also tried to get the language added to a different spending bill report, proposing an alternative version that would have prompted the White House to work with other agencies to assess state cannabis regulatory frameworks. But the Appropriations Committee rejected it. Per the article, the second section noted in the 2025 FSGG report says that the committee supports the Office of Personnel Management's, OPM, efforts to update federal hiring standards related to past marijuana use. And it wants the office to continue to review these policies and guidelines regarding the hiring and firing of individuals whose marijuana in the states, who use marijuana, in the states where that individual's private use of marijuana is not prohibited under the law of the state. Though both seem pretty straightforward and common sense measures, straightforwardness and common sense is not what our government is known for. In the article's conclusion, Yeager soberly lists similar sections that have advanced through committee in the past, but they have yet to be enacted into law, like when OPM first announced in 2022 that it was moving to widen the applicant pool for qualified federal workers and recognize what it called, quote unquote, changing societal norms amid the state level legalization movement. Or in 2023, when it sought White House approval for proposed changes to federal hiring practices that would treat past marijuana use by applicants much more leniently than current policies do. And it's always the Republican haters, like North Carolina Representative Chuck Edwards, credited for blocking common sense legislation like this from going into law. Edwards was quoted last week saying that he is overwhelmingly concerned with a provision of the spending bill that would provide marijuana banking protections, and he's threatening to file an amendment to strip the language as the underlying measure advances, potentially at today's full committee markup. With so many legalized states running on models that are not working, I personally see no downside to laying the foundation for federal guidance on what a competent legalized national market would, should, or could look like. Beginning the conversation, or allowing federal employees, at the very least, in legalized states where they're stationed in, allowing them the privilege of enjoying the same freedoms as their civilian peers. But I'm not a Republican, so maybe I'll ask one today. But big props to Dave Joyce, who continues to fight the good fight, even though he's chosen to ride with a band of obstructionists masquerading as competent lawmakers. They never see or listen to the will of their own constituencies. Why is that? I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. What do you guys think? Is this thing going to pass? I don't know. Or are they going to shoot themselves in the foot once again?
Well, I'll tell you what. No matter what happens, it sounds like we know what story you're going to cover tomorrow, Rico. Yeah, exactly. I mean, shout out to Dave Joyce. In all seriousness, we want to give Dave Joyce a lot of love and his everyone at his staff, because he is really pushing the line with these Republicans. He is about freedom and liberty and allowing people to make their own decisions. And so we do want to thank him for all of his efforts to bring that to all Americans with this type of legislation. And so shout out to Dave Joyce and his office. Yeah, most definitely. And these obstructionists, he's surrounded by all these rhinos, Rico.
These rhinos are all pro-Trump.
They can be pro-Trump, that's fine. But when it comes to this, they're not truly about freedom. They're only about some freedoms.
I mean, they don't want to lose that carrot. They've been dangling for way too long. Mm-hmm. You know, don't just call them rhinos. They're just fucking buttholes. Excuse me.
Whoa.
Sorry. I'm following Dale's lead somewhere. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I haven't started yet.
Cuss word for the word. The heaviest of all. It's my kind of word.
Well, I think what's coming out of our Supreme Court, including what happened today, is going to be a shitstorm for anybody trying to bring any kind of justice to our industry.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still the political process, and these things get marked up and thrown out, and I applaud anybody trying to bring this forward. We've got some muddled issues over drugs right now, and guns and drugs and employment, and we have a higgledy-piggledy approach. Without comprehensive reform to all this, which I think both parties need to come together and get their head out of their ass and look at doing, then we're going to just take little pieces here, and then we're going to lose little pieces there. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could say I was more hopeful, but abortion's going to outshine any of us trying to get attention nationwide right now, and especially in Congress after Mifepristone today. And there's a half a dozen more cases about to drop. They're going to take all the oxygen out of the room here. And drugs are just, panty waste out there, and Congress don't want to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're just a bunch of sissies. They don't want to handle it.
They don't want to tackle the real issues at hand. And especially when it's so easy for them to do. Like it's not that difficult, you know what I mean? All Republicans have to do is rally behind Nancy Mace and her bill, and we'll have an amazing bill in place, and it's something that they can actually get behind.
What are your thoughts on this, Rochelle?
Congress has to do this. I mean, that's straight up. Congress has to fix this mess by changing the Controlled Substance Act's hold on cannabis, getting it clear out of there, and then let the tax structures work, give interstate commerce distribution permits out, and let good green bud from Northern California be sold legally in New York and Atlanta and wherever else they want to sell it, rather than in the traps market.
Oh yeah, that's when you say weed for the people, right there, Dale.
Rochelle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Dale. Frankly, I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. Every time we seem to get closer and closer to some protections, or God forbid, legal sales in DC, it's just taken away. And I think that Dale makes a very good point that the CSA has a lot to do with that. But I also agree with Stone in that these guys are buttholes.
Mm-hmm. It's the guy from the insurance commercial with the dangling dollar on the fishing line.
Mayhem.
You almost got it. Oh, you got to be a little quicker. That's exactly what's happening. But
so Jason, what will get these guys to move? Because I really don't understand. Like they said no to the when we tried to get comprehensive reform pushed. It was all about baby steps, and now they're trying to take baby steps, and they're shooting those down too.
I don't know if I would necessarily call this a baby step. I think this is a pretty big leap. I don't think I would qualify that as a baby step.
Do you think
Just
it's
saying.
a big leap? Like,
yeah, I think it's a big leap. If you considering where the federal government's position has been for years upon years, and with what they are trying to do in DC, I think that is a big step. Yes, I do.
All he did was ask for them to begin studying what the states have done right and wrong, and start putting those into practice.
You're asking the federal government to study, Rico. That's is a big step. That is a big step for the federal government. No, they don't. They do not study. They pretend that they study.
That's all they fucking do is study shit. Like,
Stop it. They do not.
Something else to study. Like, okay, like
they do not study.
Right? These states
they call for studies.
Yeah, they call for studies. They observe things and whatnot. They do not study. Don't get it twisted.
I don't think it's such a big ask to start gathering information so you can start putting into play, what is inevitable within the next couple of years.
So you don't think it's a big deal for the federal government to do their job?
State level, and have a shit show on the federal level next.
So you don't think it's a big deal for the federal government to actually do its job? I mean, because they make it seem like it's a big deal for them to actually do their job on every single issue, it seems like nowadays.
Is why I always say burn it down. Start fresh.
Yeah, and on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Light the match.
Mm-hmm.